Happy Thanksgiving Eve to all of you and yours out there, whether you're traveling, flying, training, busing, you know it, driving, you name it. Safe travels. Enjoy Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys are having a blast here on the 26th of November. Welcome inside the channel. I'm Bobby Trosset. As always, this is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. Lots to discuss here. And as you may have gathered, this is a Ravens offense that, while, yes, the team itself has ripped off 5 straight games, clawed its way out of that 1-5 hole, gotten above 500, in great position to control its own destiny down the stretch here in these closing 6 weeks, I think we all can pretty much universally agree that this is a Ravens offense that's currently or going to hold the team back from where they ultimately want to go and end up when it's all said and done in a couple months down the line. And that hasn't been the case, again, right now in the last month plus. But if things don't change, I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to have to pay. And I think moving forward, the question of today's live stream, as you see in the live chat, my favorite Q&A new feature, outside of Lamar's health improving, how can the Ravens fix their offense in the short term? I think as it tends to go, if you showed up here kind of looking for sunshine and rainbows types of commentary on where your team currently stands on that side of the ball, this might be one of those ones that you want to skip out on, because between Steve Smith, Chris Long, Mina Kimes, Dan Orlovsky, and other pieces of research that I have, it's not exactly the most hunky-dory state from an offensive perspective. So just to be clear on that, that's what we're going to discuss. And of course, we got to get ready for Thanksgiving. The third and final game coming up tomorrow in standalone fashion will be the Ravens and Bengals. 1 o'clock is Packers-Lions, a Thanksgiving staple. And the Chiefs are in Dallas to play the Cowboys in between those two. Joe Burrow will be back. T. Higgins is out. And as for the Ravens, before we kind of dive into today's content, both Rashad Bateman and Kyle Hamilton, they're good to go. The only 2 players that have been ruled out, Taven Bryan, interior defensive tackle, and Justice Hill. So it looks like it'll be Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell, and Rasheen Ali in Lamar's backfield, although Rasheen will primarily just play special teams, you would think. As for Kyle, though, yet again, another exhibit A for why this dude is a gladiator, incredibly durable, especially considering the fact that we learned this last night on the Collective with Jeff.
About what I saw from Kyle Hamilton today, I wasn't crazy about what I saw from Kyle Hamilton today. His ankle was heavily taped, but that dude to be out there on the practice field and it's just he ain't gonna miss this game. I'm not sure he's gonna be anywhere close to 100%, but he's not gonna miss this game. So you could tell he was some guys you can't, like Travis Jones walked by us. Now we didn't see a whole lot of practice, but you wouldn't have been able to tell with Travis Jones that he was dealing with anything. Kyle Hamilton, you could tell. You could tell with the way his ankle was taped, and you could tell with how he was running around. Now, we never saw him break out in a full sprint. And, a lot of times you could see towards the end of the practice, they lead us to the podium at the end of practice to get in line for interviews. And Kyle Hamilton was out there at the end of practice. So, yeah, he may have not have done everything, but he was still out there at the end of practice. It wasn't a guy who was just out there for 45 minutes and went inside and got treatment. So that bodes well. I just don't see him missing this game. But if he had to, I think you'd probably go with, I think you'd just play Cheeto on the outside with Wiggins, and you'd play Marlon and nickel and just have Gilman Starks back there. And maybe you rotate in TJ Tampa or Keon Martin. And I think that's what they have some options there, but obviously nobody's going to replace Kyle Hamilton.
Remember a couple months ago when parts of this fan base were ripping Kyle for his spoiled comments, which were completely blown out of proportion and taken out of context, maybe in some cases? I hope some remember this stretch of time right now for Kyle, not only back-to-back years where he almost single-handedly, in terms of alignment and role within the confines of Zach Orr's defense, has turned things around, has opened up different opportunities, helped a young player in Malachi Starks, formed a great partnership with our Darius Washington on the back end for the second half of last year, and so on and so forth. Not to mention what's clear. And what's clear going into tomorrow night is that this is a player that's gutting through it physically to make sure that he's available. I was going to say it's a gotta-have-it game. Crazy enough, the Ravens have done enough in the last month or so, technically, that they actually have room for it not to be a gotta-have-it game. Of course you want to continue the winning streak. Of course you want to keep pace with Pittsburgh. Of course you want to maybe even mathematically, I don't know if mathematically will do it, but you know what I mean, give Cincinnati its final shot and another chink in the armor coming up tomorrow. I mean, they're 3-8. They have zero margin of error. Ravens? Listen, 9-8 is going to get you, in all likelihood, 9-8, which Cincinnati has to win 6 consecutive games to reach. That likely will give you a shot and potentially a wild card spot. Anyway, I'm not here to argue about whether or not the Ravens are in gotta-have-it mode or not. What I just wanted to briefly mention before I get to Steve and everybody else that's critiquing the state of this Ravens offense is that Kyle is a gladiator. Kyle is old school. Kyle is durable as hell. He's a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. Notice how I say candidate. Nobody's losing to Myles Garrett. Let's be honest. Nobody. But in terms of value to his team, man, immeasurable. Immeasurable value. So Taven Bryan and Justice Hill are out just to cook through the rest of this injury report. Lamar, good to go. No injury designation. Same thing with Rashad Bateman and Kyle. Same thing with Travis Jones, who's been dealing with that ankle. That'll be one to watch. Big number 98's been logging a lot of snaps in the interior part of Zach Orr's defensive front. Keon Martin, perhaps, returning to the lineup after missing Sunday's game against the Jets with that rib. And Ronnie got a day of Ronnie got a couple days of rest this week. He was limited today. And by the way, this was a participation estimation because it was a walkthrough, just to be clear on that, since tomorrow's the game. All right, so that's what's going on from an availability standpoint. And just so that you're fully caught up to speed on the other side of things, no T. Higgins, no Trey Hendrickson, no Jermaine Burton, their young wide receiver, no Cam Sample, no Taj Brooks. That's where the Bengals are currently sitting right now from their availability standpoint. On to what really is probably going to feel like a barrage of commentary and critiques, all of which I think has to be talked about right now. The facts are that this is a Ravens defense that now, for a 5 or 6 game sample size, has looked apart, has a sense of calm to it, has perhaps a shot in the arm from an edge rusher standpoint, knowing that Draymond Jones has been plug and play and logging over 63% of Zach's defensive snaps. The young bull, Mike Green, showing some development, some explosiveness, continued pressure. It's a lot of fun to watch him move. Teddy Buchanan leads this team in tackles, by the way. So good for him. And then, of course, on the back end, you're getting contributions from a savvy vet in Cheeto Awuzie. Nate Wiggins is finding his way to get his hands on footballs. Marlon Humphrey coming up with timely plays in the middle of somehow managing the pain that I'm sure is there for him right now, having just had a pin placed in his finger within the last couple of weeks. And I could go on and on and on in terms of what's going well for that side of the ball. For the first time in 5-6 weeks, though, it's going to be a stiffer task against an offense that, yes, is without T. Higgins, but we know what Joe Burrow and company are capable of doing, and we know what Jamar Chase is not only capable of doing, but what he's pretty much, for the most part, does on an annual basis against this Ravens secondary. That's not really what's up for debate right now. This is a defense that's playing well enough to win games, well enough to keep them in games, and well enough that it's honestly allowed for the offense to sputter the way that it has for weeks now. Lamar, I want to be very clear on this because people just love taking things and blowing them completely out of proportion. I made comments on Twitter earlier today to Dan Orlovsky's recent breakdown of a few plays where it's become undeniable that not only is Lamar not moving like the Lamar we're accustomed to seeing and watching on a weekly basis, but clearly he is physically set back right now. The majority of what's happening is related to those physical setbacks. I'm aware of that. First it was the hamstring, then it was the knee, then it was the ankle, and now it's the toe. And now maybe even it's a combination of the four, the cumulative effect that I probably sound like a broken record discussing. If you're not familiar with that clip, this is what it was.
The overwhelming thing is I have never seen Lamar Jackson get tackled more in one-on-one situations than I have since he's come back. This is 2 weeks ago. I think it's the first snap of the game for Baltimore. This is one-on-one with the rookie linebacker. It's a 1-yard loss. You cannot find clips like that in Lamar's past. This is this past Sunday. 3rd and 5 in the red zone. He breaks. Right now you think, here he's gone. This is going to be a touchdown. 3rd and 5. There's certainly a first down. No yard gain. One-on-one out in space. 2nd and 10. Down in the red zone. Once again, climb the pocket. We've seen Lamar turn this into touchdowns. He's going to turn this into a 2-yard gain against a linebacker. I just have very rarely seen Lamar Jackson. I have watched Lamar get tackled more one-on-one this year than I have in his whole career. I think he's got 2 runs this year that have gone for longer than 10 yards. Lamar Jackson. So you're just not seeing him make people miss in space as a runner. Designed runner scrambles, nearly what we have in the past.
And just to be clear, I believe the number that he referenced there, those 2 yards of 10 or more yards. Excuse me. So the 2 runs that he's had of 10 or more yards, I don't believe that's a full season statistic. I think that's just since he returned at Miami on that Thursday night game several weeks ago. So just to be clear on that. Look, we mentioned this on the Vault today, this graphic right here. So sorry to overdo it, but it's hard to overstate the difference. And again, most of this is summed up with a lack of health. His first 5 games, he finished with a completion percentage average of 72.9, 250.6 yards per game, 9.1 yards per pass, and a 15-2 touchdown to turnover ratio. His passer rating was a whopping 136.7. They obviously didn't have much to show for it because his first 5 games, they struggled mightily. Matter of fact, those first 5 games since he left the second half of the Kansas City game would have been Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, the first half of Kansas City, and then Miami. I think those are the 5 games that they're working on here because he missed Houston, he missed the Rams, and he missed the Bears. Those were the weeks that he missed. So the last 3 games would be operating under the Jets, Browns, and Vikings. And you see that on the right-hand column. Completion percentage dipped to 57.1. Total yards per game plummeted to 193. 6.8 yards per pass. Just 1 touchdown over that 3-game span. 2 turnovers and a passer rating of 71.5. David, you can call it negative all you want. It's real and it's pressing and it's going to keep your team from advancing to where it wants to go if it doesn't improve. I have no idea whether or not Lamar will improve health-wise because that's, quite frankly, is out of his control. What I do know is we could potentially get down to the bottom for the purpose of the conversation on how the Ravens can fix this offense outside of what they can't control, Lamar's health, in the short term to keep this thing alive and give themselves a chance a couple months from right now to punch their ticket to the postseason. And ultimately, nothing the previous 17 games, 18 weeks will matter. And it's a fresh new slate. This is where I now pivot to Steve Smith Sr. After that, we'll talk about Chris Long's comments and then on to Mina Kimes, all of which I think is a perfect way of getting down to, one, the epicenter and the crux of all of this, which is Lamar's health. But two, how can Todd Monken, Ravens offensive play caller, find himself as a look in the mirror type of moment to figure out how they can continue to get better in the red zone, which they have not, how they can move the ball more effectively, how they can be less predictable, more creative, and ultimately try to get back to being feared again. Because right now, who fears this offense? Here's Steve.
You have such a dynamic football player at the quarterback position like Lamar Jackson, where he's a legitimate dual threat. I'm talking about, he can take off and run. He can act like he takes off and run and throws a dart down the field 65 yards with the flick of the wrist.
Yeah, this is like a unicorn. This is a rare player. Yes.
But I think Todd Monken has to maybe adjust a little bit. It's starting to, teams have started to figure things out. And you can disagree with me, but you now are averaging 20 points a game, under 15 for the last 5 games. That's
not the Ravens.
That is not the Ravens. I also think possibly it might be Lamar Jackson is a little bit still fake. Well, he's not 100%. So you have the hamstring, you got the knee, you got the ankle.
This week, we're in Thanksgiving week. It's the toe, Steve, now?
Man,
that apparently?
It's so much. And I think teams are really starting to say, hey, we don't have to concern ourselves with Lamar running. So what we're going to do is we're going to load up the box to slow down Derrick Henry. And then after that, we're going to make you beat us throwing the football, Lamar, but not because they don't think Lamar Jackson can beat him. He doesn't threaten that he'll take off running, right?
It's a different
It's
test.
a different Lamar.
Yeah.
So let me show you one of the plays that I saw that was just different, right? And
I'm going to pause, Steve, there for a second and get back more interactive with the live chat. And by the way, Will and Dre Dog and Manny and everybody in the waiting room, I'm going to open up the guest lines in just a bit. I know the guest line access link is there for the taking. I'm just not quite there yet in the program. So if you guys want to come in and come out for, in like 10, 15 minutes, I just don't want to waste your time. I'll get to that part of the program in just a bit. But Mike says, love you, Mike. Mike says, LJ will kill you with dots from the pocket, and he does. That's why I said Nick's comments were nonsense. But Mike, he's not killing you with dots right now. He's overthrowing DeAndre Hopkins after a filthy double move. He's throwing behind Mark Andrews across the middle. He's not on the same page with Isaiah Likely. Now, I'm not saying he's solely to blame for every single one of these misfires, but here's a number for you to consider. He is dead last since returning back to the lineup on first read accuracy. Dead last. First read accuracy. That is an FTN fantasy metric. So among quarterbacks since returning, which was week what? What was the Thursday night game? That was week 9. Pretty decent sample size. Dead last on first read accuracy. Some people in the live chat were like, well, wait a second. You don't need your legs. You don't need the ability to run, to throw dots. And I would contend that you do. You need to be able to plant. You need leverage on your lower body, particularly when it comes to different platforms, different areas of the field, different depths, lengths. No, I'm saying, Mike, you call in and let's have a conversation about it. He has not been an accurate thrower of the football since he's been banged up. We're not here to absolve the offensive line. We're not here to absolve the play caller. This is just simply a conversation about Lamar in the here and now. Everything around him has to improve, and he is included in that.
I want to show this play because you know darn well, old Lamar, healthy Lamar, man, he's taking off running.
And, Dave is talking about in the live chat right now. Now you guys are going to get my attention. He's undefeated since returning. That's correct. He's undefeated since returning, and just win, baby. And that is first and foremost. And I get it. That's awesome. This team is undefeated since he returned because of the defensive side of the football and special teams, period.
Right. So they already have, before you pause it right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 guys lined up on the line of scrimmage. I know the guy down here at the numbers is a DB, but he's close enough in condensed formation. It looks like a -2. So he has to count for being in the box. But then you got the linebacker, I think there's Sherwood. He's creeping up. And then you got the safety who's back right there on the 40. He's already has stagger stance. So what is his body language to me is saying, man, I am coming down, or I'm coming down to alert. So it could be one robber. He could be shifting, but he is moving, because if you notice, the people who aren't moving, the legs are they're not staggered.
Mm-hmm.
His are. So that tells me he's going to move. Hit play. Well, won't you know, he's moving. But look at this. Stop it right there.
Look at the space.
Look at all this space.
I'll pause Steve's breakdown as well. Young Nation says it's because he's hurt. I'm not running with the narrative that he's not a great thrower of the football. Nobody's running with that narrative. This is where it gets like mob-like. I'm not saying you're a part of the mob, Young Nation. It's a strong word, but I have fun with it. Because when the mob comes out with their pitchforks for me when I criticize the team, which I rarely do, it's so insufferable. Nobody's saying that he's not a great thrower of the football. Not inside this channel, not inside the vault. Maybe you're going back to Nick Wright's commentary. I don't know. Nobody's saying that here, though, just to be clear.
Pause right there. Linebackers, no one's even fearing or thinking Lamar Jackson has the potential to run. They're dropping back saying, nope, we know he can't run. Because he's not 100%. And sometimes when you're not 100%, you got to play sometimes to get out of treatment, because sometimes treatment feels like punishment.
What do you mean?
So let's show another play of Lamar taking off running, and and then I'll break down why. So you got this one, bang. Goins get the Chiefs. Look at this. Same thing, zone coverage, but he's about to take off running.
He had that step. This was week 3 of the season. First half before he leaves the game.
Look at that.
Watch the willingness.
Look,
bang, tuck it and run.
Same thing. Guys are collapsing the pocket. So he takes off running. Look at this. Look at this Houdini one. Look, this is where he goes.
Week 1,
bananas.
Buffalo.
Convoy. Boom.
This is the first game of the season. We are fresh as fresh can be.
So, again, I want to be clear. If anybody's bringing up father time, if anybody's bringing up wear and tear over the years, please, that'll come. There will be a time where that'll come. That day is not today. This is about physical setbacks. And it's impacting not only this entire offense, it's not masking, obviously, as Lamar does on an annual basis to a degree. It's not masking some deficiencies that they have as an offensive line. It's not allowing Lamar himself to showcase the best safety valve of all time at the quarterback position when it comes to being dual threat. And as a result, I think it does have a trickle-down effect from an accuracy standpoint. When you know that one of the greatest assets ever, one of the greatest intangibles, the God-given ability that Lamar has, when you know, and I'm talking about when Lamar himself in his heart of heart knows that that's not something that he can lean on in this moment for this extended period of time. And not only can you not lean on that right now, but you can't trust your line consistently in pass protection, and you're not running the football effectively, at least not to the Ravens standard, and not to mention you've got pass catchers dropping footballs in recent weeks, that's a tough world to live in. But to David's point, they've been living and dying off of that, but there hasn't been a whole lot of dying over the last 5-6 weeks. Will that continue into this closing stretch where you play 4 in-division teams? And then New England and Green Bay, one of which is going to be in the frozen tundra a couple days after Christmas. Now on to Mina Kimes.
With Lamar. And Mina, I turn that question to you. What do you think is happening here with him?
Well, the injuries have clearly affected his athleticism. You see the rushing stats there. It's obvious when you watch as well. But I think the more alarming thing to some extent is how uncomfortable he looks throwing from inside the pocket. Over the last 4 weeks, according to FTN Fantasy, which tracks this, on first reads, he's 32nd in accuracy. Put that in context, last year he was second behind only Joe Burrow. And it's not like Lamar Jackson has suddenly become an inaccurate pocket passer, particularly on quick throws. To me, I suspect these things are tied together. Him knowing that he can't escape pressure the way he is accustomed to doing is clearly affecting his entire process within the pocket. Perhaps there are mechanical issues affected by the injury as well. But he's just not been himself as a pocket passer. That said, you're going up against the Cincinnati Bengals defense that can be had, that is giving up 90 yards a game to tight ends, so there will be opportunities there. But I do want to see Lamar look better within the pocket, setting aside the athleticism.
No Trey Hendrickson.
What she's referencing to, and yes, there's no Trey Hendrickson defensively on the offensive side of the ball, no T. Higgins. So those are 2 big blows for Cincinnati, no question about it. And again, maybe I've been overusing this chart, but this is making its rounds on social media, and there are a bunch of teams in the middle of this chart across the league that's measuring tight end receiving yards and tight end receiving touchdowns allowed, meaning the way defenses defend tight ends, and Cincinnati's done anything but defend tight ends. You take a look, courtesy of True Media, where that Bengals logo is all the way in the upper right-hand corner of this screenshot. Perhaps it's a day for the Ravens trio of tight ends led by Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Charlie Kohler. Perhaps those 3 become a safety valve for Lamar Jackson. On to Chris Long, former NFL defensive end. His perspective on the Ravens offense, I'd say, I was going to say harsh. That's not the right word. Critical, much like Steve was.
Look like they're stuck in the mud. They look slow. The offense looks slow. And the most dynamic part of their offense is that quarterback. Okay, Lamar's fantastic. We know it.
Derrick Henry's pretty dynamic too.
No, but not.
It's like kinetic energy versus potential energy kind of thing, you know?
I understand. But Lamar Jackson, I can kind of explain away Derrick Henry not having the kind of year that he's accustomed to having, because the offensive line's been pretty poor. You know, it's not a great group up front. He's also, Derrick Henry is 30 years old, right? You know, at some point, he's not going to run for 2K every year, basically, is what I'm saying. Lamar Jackson should still look like Lamar Jackson. Physically, he hasn't this year. And we know it's because of injuries, at least in part. But you watch that game, you know, do the same freeze frame thing I was doing with Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah. I was freezing the film in certain spots, and I wish I had just screenshot it because I can show you frozen film. But, like, guess the outcome of the play. You've got Lamar Jackson. You got a post safety who's coming down to support a scramble. You've got a half-field concept over here, and there's the pylon in the post-field safety or a linebacker. In the past, you freeze that and you guess touchdown or you guess 20-yard run. It's not happening right now. And you know, it's obviously injuries have a lot to do with that. But I think, you know, teams aren't afraid to man up Baltimore. Yeah. You know, and you know, you might be afraid in certain situations to man them up in the past because of the quarterback's legs. I think you can take that off the list right now. And 23, I think he had 72 scrambles. 2024, 42 scrambles. 2025, I think he's only got 24.
Yeah.
So that's been a big part of what they do. Obviously, he's a pocket passer, but he's not hurting people the same way when he tucks and runs it, and he's taking more big hits.
He's taking more hits than any other QB.
Yes, but also like when he tucks and runs it, like in the past, because of his mobility, because of how he's seeing the field, like he can get out of bounds, he can avoid the hit. Now he's taking tackles, dude.
Yeah.
And the red zone rate has been cut in half. I think also another thing that hasn't been good, it jumps off the screen when you watch him on film is, their RPO game's not great, but the screen game is much worse than last year. They went from like a middle of the pack screen team to a bottom 3, bottom 4 screen team. So you watch that on film and like the answers are they're disjointed for them. They're not in a flow. And so I worry about this offense. I do. Like,
well, I'd be very worried if they can't score on the Bengals. I would be highly, highly alarmed.
That's a concern.
Yeah.
It makes them human in every game they play. Which to me it's tough because, the other teams that are spotty offensively, they have really elite defenses. And while Baltimore's been better on defense, like since they made those moves, like I don't put them in the class of Denver. I don't put them in the class of Philly. I don't put them in the class of, I don't know, go around the league. I don't put them in the class of Green Bay. So when your offense takes a half off, and we've seen it the last 2 weeks against the likes of the Browns and the Jets, it's a bad deal. So I think for Baltimore, you want to see the offense look a lot better this Thursday. And you got to keep the points down because this could end up being a tight football game if you can't score.
Yeah.
And just to follow up to your point about man coverage, Chris, that the Ravens have faced, they've faced the 3rd most man coverage this season. That's really interesting.
It is interesting. And I saw that and look back at the last couple of years, teams play more man against them than you'd think. But this year, it's just when you watch, you're like, no wonder.
Is that because of Lamar, though? Because that's immediately where
it's the receivers. I think it's the personnel groupings they use in the receivers.
I just feel like you don't want to play with zone eyes, against Lamar, and you want to have a little bit more people in the box and then even a spy on him, which means man to me.
I think it'd be interesting, and maybe, Nolan, you can do this while we're finishing, but to sort for third downs. Because when you see them in the field and they're in 22 personnel or 12 personnel in these condensed formations or what have you, and like, you're in man for whatever reason, but in those must pass situations, I kind of wonder if there has been an uptick because of what we're all seeing on film.
On third downs this season, they're seeing 42% man coverage, which is a top 10 rate. Yeah, that's really high. Yep.
So that to me is the true tell, and it does tell a story.
Interesting stuff there, Chris Long. Look, who's going to be a consistent man beater among Ravens pass catchers outside of Zay Flowers? Who's it going to be? Will Rashad Bateman be back in the lineup? Sure looks like it. No injury designation for number 7, who's missed the last couple games with that high ankle sprain. I'm going to open up the guest lines finally, so all of you that have been waiting in the waiting room, we'll get to you in just a bit here. Look forward to hopefully taking some calls on the Q&A that I have pinned in my chat right now, which is simple. Outside of Lamar's health improving, how can the Ravens fix their offense in the short term? It's a simple question, but perhaps a complicated answer. That's what Todd Monken and company are tasked with. Overall offensive rankings so far through 11 games, they're the 21st ranked group. They're putting up over 314 yards of offense on a weekly basis. They're 6th on the ground with 138 rushing yards per game. They're 29th in the passing attack, 176.6 yards per game. Not great. 10th in scoring at 25 flat. 19th on third down, 38.2% of the time they're moving the chains. They're 18th on fourth down, over 52% of the time converting. And woof. That wasn't a Sarah Ellison woof, but woof. 46.3% of the time they're scoring touchdowns in the red zone. That ranks 30th league-wide. But, as many of you are hoping for, perhaps it's a get-right game for the offense. Because when you take a look at where the Bengals stack up defensively league-wide, they're just about dead last in every single key category. They're 32nd in total yards allowed. 415.8 per game to be exact. They're second to last against the run, 156 yards per game they're allowing. They're dead last against the pass, dead last in scoring, second to last on third down, 22nd on fourth down, and 28th in the red zone. So if it's as simple as that, you like the Ravens' chances of hanging 30-plus points on this team. But then again, a lot of that hinges on Lamar's health, where this overall offense is as a whole, and how it's going to respond to is it capable of putting together 4 quarters of chain moving, 4 quarters of clean football, operationally, pass catching, moving bodies in the run game, pass protecting. No Trey Hendrickson is a welcome sight for this Ravens team, for this Ravens offensive front and the offensive line itself. And speaking of the offensive line, look who's in the waiting room. I can't believe everybody abandoned me in the waiting room besides Rave. How fitting is that? Welcome back to the program, brother. Happy Thanksgiving. What's going on?
Happy Thanksgiving. So to answer your question, obviously, if you put Emory and Ben Cleveland in, you got the best offensive line in the game, and they can do whatever they want. Now to speak in reality, what can they do right now? Right now, creativity. That's the best right now. For right now, if we're speaking reality, creativity. Considering the fact that Daniel sucks, Jorge sucks, so you're gonna have to just grab these 2 trash guys and accumulate yourselves of on that field and do some type of formation or some type of movement to where it allows Derrick Henry or Lamar to be successful. Unfortunately, there is no quick fix other than creativity, considering you're using the same offensive line. But if Ben Cleveland and Emory Jones plug in, you can do whatever you want. That's the best offensive line.
Great seeing you, brother. Appreciate you. I knew you were going to throw a couple references in there, as he's been doing. That TikTok's been rolling for him, by the way. Getting some good viral moments there, Rave. Keep it coming. Yeah, I think creativity is probably a simple way of answering the question. And Todd Monken has been leaning into that. Play calling strategy-wise in recent weeks. Well, just a couple weeks ago, he gave Pat Ricard a carry. We all know how they won the game in fake tush-push fashion with Mark Andrews. 10 days ago in Cleveland. So that might be the move. Might serve them well. Continued creativity against the Cincinnati defense that, as we've mentioned a couple times, is historically bad. Take a look at their DVOA through 11 games. This is a sample size that dates back to 1978. And they are, at 3-8, in danger of being the worst DVOA defense, efficiency, performance, in the history of this statistic, in the history of this analytical measurement. Now, does some of that go out the door when you think about the fact that it's a divisional matchup and there's a lot of familiarity, and considering the fact that the last 2 weeks, even though both have resulted in losses for Cincinnati, they've been a little bit more formidable, this group, including some phenomenal goal line stands against a New England team that can run the football effectively? We'll see. All I know is that Joe Burrow's got a tall task in front of him. He has not played regular season speed football since week 2, and he's over 2 months removed from a surgically repaired grade 3 turf toe procedure. So that's a lot to ask. It's also probably a lot to ask for this Ravens secondary that has never matched up well with Jamar Chase. And while there's no T. Higgins, so Batman's Robin is not available, you still got to deal with Jamar.
Certainly does merit double coverage. I mean, he's one of the premier receivers in the league for sure. It's hard to get to that because you've got some other weapons out there, and as soon as you start pulling the coverage too far away from other guys, and other guys start making plays on you. So we'll have to balance all that out with what we do. But yeah, he's one of the top guys in the league for sure.
And Jamar on no T. Higgins?
I would say there's a lot more zones. And really just six strong when T was in a lot. You know what I'm saying? And played quarters and a lot of two. But now it might be like maybe some man with double if T's not out there. You know, it'll probably play man with everybody else and just double me. You know, who knows though? So we got wins.
Some man with double. You got to double this man early and often. I don't care if T. Higgins is out there or not. This is a dude that has torched the Ravens secondary. And while Brandon Stephens, no disrespect, while Brandon Stephens is no longer in Baltimore, this is still a group. And I'm sure Nate Wiggins is breathing down his defensive coach's necks this week, wanting to travel, wanting to draw that assignment. This team has never matched up well or had consistent answers for the physicality, for the route running, for the explosiveness, for the technician-savvy player that is Ja'Marr Chase. It's also a Ravens defense that at times has been susceptible to those speedy runners, those gadget players, right? Those players are going to try and not dink and dunk, but spread out the field, test you inside the trenches. And it's a Bengals offense that's going to have to run the football effectively if they want to ease Joe Burrow back into his first game since September. Ravens defensive metrics as a full season collective effort here, which we know it's been very different since week 6. But if we're looking at it as a whole, they're the 23rd ranked group. They're 20th against the run at 117.5 yards per game, rushing wise. They're 24th against the pass. They're 19th in scoring, so on and so forth. When I look at Chase Brown, sort of their all-purpose, do-it-all running back, he's on a little bit of a stretch here, and I'm concerned about their ability to successfully run the football on Baltimore. I think that's going to be an area where the Ravens could be vulnerable. Chase Brown has 5 consecutive games with 100 or more yards from scrimmage. That's the longest active streak in the National Football League. Taven Bryan is down. Obviously, Nnamdi Madubuike is done for the year. They have been susceptible. Manny, you ready to roll? The hell's he doing in his bedroom? I don't want to know. Guest line's open. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to all of you. Let's bring in Mr. Mexico, get his thoughts on the game and what the Ravens offense can do in the short term to fix what's been happening lately. Good to see you, brother. Welcome back.
Hey, good to see you. I think for as much as we worry about, Ja'Marr Chase, I think we have to worry, like we have been worrying all year about the offensive line. Because for as much as there's no Trey, who says that they're not gonna pressure Voorhees and Falala a lot? Try to go inside instead of the outside and just try to tackle Lamar for sacks, and
Chris
everything
Long,
is gone.
He called this the clean pocket bowl because neither team gets the quarterback consistently.
Nah, I don't think so. I think Mike Jones is going to feast. They're going to feast very well. Yes, Mike Jones they're going to feast very well. And it's a matter if Todd can actually make quick plays, not just side throws, but quick slants or goes for Andrews likely or Kolar. Use Kolar. Nobody expects Kolar, like Hugh says. Nobody expects Kolar, so use Kolar.
Man, he's been able to eat this year as the guy that people forget about because he's too busy doing all the little things that never show up in the box score. So good to see you, brother. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Absolutely.
See you Friday.
You know it. You know it. Appreciate you guys for being with me. Ravens have 18 total team sacks this year. The Bengals have 15. Myles Garrett has 18 individually. So I find it kind of funny that, and maybe even accurate, that Chris Long referred to this game as the clean pocket bowl. Not if Draymond Jones has something to say about it. He's been bringing it over the last 3 games, playing over 63% of Zach Orr's defensive snaps, 10 pressures. Looking the part, man, and he's organically bringing pressure too, and that's probably the most encouraging part of what he's done. Will, you ready to roll, brother? Let's bring you in. Happy Thanksgiving, man. Welcome back.
Happy Turkey Day. Future Turkey Day.
Yep. What's going on?
So, yeah, I'm wondering about Lamar in terms of, like, his overall performance. If anything, I feel like it's also psychological as it is physical. You got to think about it like this. He knows that he's not able to move the same way. We've seen him. Defense are probably going to be honing in on that. And then on top of all that, he knows he doesn't have the best offensive line. I mean, to be fair, only someone like Lamar Jackson can really make that offensive line really look efficient. When you have someone that can move around like he does, has the ability to escape the pocket, that makes a lot of defenders, both on the line and in the backfield, pause. Especially if you're doing like man-to-man, they have to look back. You have defensive linemen that don't want him getting by him. Now you don't have that situation. You have basically a sitting duck. He knows that. He knows that he's got a quick timer in his head. So, and they don't have the real power with his leg situation to drive the ball. So that could be leading to some issues with his passing ability. So my hope is that they pretty much kind of, like you said, protect him at all costs. Bring in extra tight ends, run King Henry a little bit more. We just can't afford him to stack any more injuries at this point.
Thanks, brother. Have a great holiday, man. Crazy thing is, even Derek, even just running Derek and giving him more opportunities isn't doing it with the state of this line. We know that, part of Derek's superpower is, get him going north to south and it's over. You get him going east to west, you get him consistently knocked back behind the line of scrimmage. It's not going to lead to a lot of consistent success. You saw that his last year in Tennessee. That line was pitiful. And he paid the price because of it, both statistically, physically, and everything else in between. I wish it was as simple as that. Just continue to feed Derek. Mike, when the hell are you going to call in, Mike? You're just going to be a live chat merchant. Dre Dog's on the move as usual. Guy looks like he's locked the hell in on something. Hopefully it's the road. Or maybe it's a piece of, never mind. Welcome back to the program, brother.
What up, bro? You can hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. So I kind of disagree a little bit with the take that the pass rush, well, based off of our recent ability to get to the quarterback, I got a feeling that this might be a game that by halftime, if the Ravens can get to Joe Burrow, who is like Lamar, well, not Lamar as far as athletic, but Joe Burrow got sneaky athleticism as far as getting out the pocket and whatnot. If they can get to him a couple of times, some good times, we might see him out of the game by halftime, bro. I really don't know if this is a good test run for them against this Ravens front right now. The way that they're playing, I don't know if this is a good idea. And just real quick, I wish that as far as trying to improve the offense, if we took the same position as, well, if the Ravens coaching staff took the same position as far as roster movement, roster changes, roster modification that they do defense versus offense, just think about how they made a clean sweep last year on defense. They let dudes go. They demoted dudes. They did all of that on defense. I don't understand why they don't keep the same energy on offense. Like, y'all know how I feel about Rashad Bateman, but I feel like the ability to stretch the field when you know you have a Lamar that is not at his best as far as mobility-wise is a crucial thing. So why not have Tez Walker in on one side by himself? Zay Flowers doing his normal motion thing. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely running the seams. Derrick Henry next to Lamar or behind Lamar for some play action. the formation variety and player diversity they have to meet in order for this team to truly make an upgrade on offense.
Love it, brother. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Catch up with you soon. It's got me thinking, too. It's a hell of a point right there. You know, they were very quick. Maybe not quick, but they'd seen enough with Trenton Simpson. That led to a change. They'd seen enough with Marcus Williams. That led to a change. They'd clearly seen enough from Eddie Jackson. That led to a change. And there's probably other examples that I'm just not thinking about right now off the top of my head. So, yeah, it is interesting in that sense. Maybe that is in some ways Lamar Jackson fatigue. Or maybe that's not the right way to say it. Like Lamar Jackson, maybe fatigue is the right way to say it. Like you're almost, how do I want to describe that? It's not Lamar Jackson fatigue, but it's like, almost like, help me out in the live chat with this one, what I'm trying to get at. Not spoiled, but almost like, come on, brain, fire away. How do I want to describe the feeling of having Lamar Jackson at your disposal? You know what I mean? Like it almost blinds you in a sense. What's the perfect way to summarize that? Maybe you guys can help me out in the live chat on that. You got Thanksgiving Eve fog. Complacency, stay tuned, says. Jack says privilege. Thank you guys for helping me out. EB's in the waiting room. And let's see if he's got his outfit on. Let's see what's going on. Oh, he's off the clock. Change for good says comfort. That could be it. Ain't gonna be very comfortable if Lamar's not fully healthy the rest of the way. I know that. Joseph Burton hits me with a super chat, and he writes, I missed it. Did you reveal if you have a significant other on the vault? Me? No, but I've been seeing somebody for a few weeks in the St. Pete area here in Florida. Local, born and raised, very sweet. But no, I haven't talked about it at all, matter of fact. Were people talking about it in the chat? What was that? Tisha and Tila, probably, I bet, right? The double T's? Double T's or double D's? On to EB we go. What's up, brother? Happy Thanksgiving. Good to see you, my man.
What's going on, Bobby?
How you doing?
It's a couple things. One, early on the vote, when you had the Bengals winning, you're definitely tripping. I have no idea what the hell is wrong with you. I don't see the Bengals winning that game.
Okay, wait a second now. Do you think they're going to split the regular season series? They're playing them twice within 3 weeks. You think they're sweeping Cincy? Okay, but here's the thing,
I feel as though this is a test.
Okay.
This game and the remainder of the games, considering that we're going up against better offenses, I feel like this is a test for the defense to see if they can still hold high-powered offensive teams to 20 points or less. And I actually had this game 38-20. Exactly.
Wow. Okay. All right. I mean, look, I obviously, you heard my prediction. So I think they're going to be splitting their regular season series with them. Now, I could get behind. I could understand from a logic standpoint. I could see them winning tomorrow night, taking advantage of Joe and not having his regular season legs under him, making his first start since the turf toe injury and procedure. Then going on to play Pittsburgh, and because of playing Pittsburgh and then immediately playing the Bengals again directly after the bloodbath that always is Ravens Steelers, I could see him dropping that game. I could see that scenario playing out. Any team that you play after the Steelers, as they remembered last year, which was the Bills after the Steelers, they roughed up on them in the wild card game. And what happened come divisional round week?
Yeah. Oh, last thing. And I actually got some numbers for you, Bobby. I know you love numbers.
Okay.
If Rave, Dre Dog, and the OG Engraving is watching this, they may like this too. Especially Rave. I know I'm kicking the can down the alley again with this conversation about Ben Cleveland, Bobby, but you got to look at the numbers and you can actually look this up.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
2023, Ben Cleveland through 9 games with 1 start. his PFF grade was 67.6. His last 2 games in that season was 85.7, I believe, in both games. Right now, Daniel Fa'alele's overall PFF grade is 57.3, while Voorhees is fucking 43.7.
Let me ask you this, though. I appreciate it. You're right. I do like numbers. Why do you even do it to yourself? You know it ain't cheating.
Because the numbers don't lie. And I refuse to believe that Cleveland is not serviceable. A lot of people like to use. I refuse to believe that because of what we've seen already in live game. Now I understand practice is one thing, but you cannot mimic practice with live game action. You're playing against your team at the end of the day in practice, Bobby. You're playing against a completely different defensive coordinator. And what I'm saying, and I'm still believe that Cleveland and Emery are better options. Now, considering that Cleveland didn't get any reps at the right guard position, okay, I can see Jones taking that. But considering he did get some reps at the left guard, at least give them a chance. And considering that we are going up against the worst goddamn defense in the entire league right now, just give it a chance. Give it a rotation. At least give it one drive. One drive. That's all I'm saying about it.
I'm just happy as shit that you're off the clock right now, to be quite honest with you. That's what I'm very pleased to see. So you have a great Thanksgiving. You're looking clean. Look at the edge. Hey, turn the edge. Look at the edge. Take a look. Crisp. Look at Mr. Crisp. Look at him. He likes it too.
Nothing too much, Bobby. Nothing too much, man.
He's giving us an around the world. Come on now. Let's see it. Look at Mr. Clean. Look at the edge. Look at this generational edge. He likes
chill, man. Chill, man.
And he cleaned up right here too, didn't you? You asked for the full thing.
Yeah.
Mike tells me it's a fade, as if I don't know what a goddamn fade is, Mike. I'm tired of you, Mike. Call your ass in. Let's go. But EV, for real though, with that fade, with that edge, with that crisp line, where you headed tonight, huh?
I may go out, there is a movie that I've been meaning to go see and still have yet to go see, and it's the latest Predator movie. I'm not sure if you into that, but yeah, I got to go see. I got to go see that. So
okay. Are you gonna be solo?
I may invite a young lady if she's interested. I may go with one of my bros, or I may just go solo. Either way, I need to go see this movie because I'm a big fan of that franchise. So,
okay, now I'm gonna keep deflecting away from anything movie related. Are we talking about tonight or tomorrow?
Both. I'm actually off today and tomorrow, Bobby. So with the new, slick look, I may do something tonight and tomorrow after the family dinner.
Now, not to pry, but it's 8 minutes to 6. And is she aware of a potential invitation that could be coming her way for tonight, like an hour or two from now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. All right.
I'll give you some updates, Bobby. I'll be sure to DM you and let you know what happened.
All right, you have yourself a night, and let her know that 1,422 people right now are dissecting the hell out of this, not only potential date, but a fade for the ages. It's good to see you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise, man.
Later, man. EV, is there anything better than that? Come on now. EV, look, everybody's weighing in as well in the live chat. I didn't say it. XVYJZ0 said it. I didn't say it. Shelly says, keep it on the down low, EB. Mike knows not to call in because I'm going to let him know. I'm going to walk his ass down and then dress him up. Young Brew says dependency was helping me out earlier when I was trying to get my brain to fire away for what the Ravens potentially have gotten into when it comes to Lamar fatigue. Draydog679 says they're taking Lamar for granted, plain and simple. Appreciate you, Dre. Drive safely tonight. Everybody's all in on what we're seeing from EB tonight. Oh, and why wouldn't we be all in? He looked clean tonight, didn't he? I think he might have just gotten out of the chair, to be quite honest with you. It was that crispy. Got a boy, EB. That's right. Holly, he knows. He knows he ain't calling in. It's been so long since he called in. Ain't that right, Mike? Michael. Matter of fact, let's give you some Kyle Van Noy treatment. We ain't calling you Mike until you call in. It's Michael from here on out. Shelly says EB's a cutie. Shelly, do you have kids? You got a daughter for EB? Oh, shit. This is so good. All right, I got to go. It gave you 61 minutes. I know, Shelly. I know you're married. I'm sure happily married, too. Don't even answer how old your kids are. It's not even worth me going down that freaking road and get myself in trouble. With that, we're closing things down. Rave, I got to go, bro. All the best, Rave. I love you. Just kicked his ass out of the waiting room. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Have an awesome Thanksgiving Eve. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Look forward to pregame and postgame coverage. Pregame here in the 6 o'clock hour tomorrow night. The Vault, as always, postgame. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Love a good live chat. Mike, we're waiting on your ass.